Rain lashed against the towering windows of the Grand Horizon Hotel, one of New York City's most opulent establishments, its marble facade gleaming even in the storm's gloom. High above the drenched streets, in the penthouse suite, Ethan Caldwell stood alone, gazing at the city's blurred lights with a glass of whiskey in hand. At 38, the white American heir to the Caldwell Hotel empire had everything a man could desire: wealth that opened every door, power that commanded respect, and a chiseled face framed by neatly styled dark hair. His tailored navy suit clung perfectly to his tall frame, a testament to a life where perfection was not just expected, but demanded. Yet, as the rain pounded relentlessly, a quiet unease gnawed at him, a growing sense that his world of boardrooms, galas, and shallow connections was hollow, a gilded cage he hadn't chosen but couldn't escape. Ethan's life had been shaped by privilege, from private schools in Manhattan to Ivy League degrees, all orchestrated by his father, Thomas Caldwell, who measured success in profit margins and social status. Ethan had followed the path laid out for him, taking the helm of the family's hotel chain 5 years ago when Thomas retired. He worked tirelessly, lived by strict rules: work hard, show no weakness, keep emotions at arm's length, and surrounded himself with people who mirrored his world, polished, predictable, and preoccupied with appearances. But lately, its monotony all weighed on him. The endless meetings, the forced smiles at charity events, the superficial chatter with his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Claire Montgomery. It all felt like a script he was tired of reading. He craved something real, though he couldn't name what it was. "Mr. Caldwell, the board meeting is set for 9 a.m. tomorrow," said Sarah, his assistant, her voice crisp as she handed him a folder. "Miss Montgomery also called about the charity gala next week." Ethan waved a hand, barely looking up. "Tell Claire I'll think about it." Sarah nodded, accustomed to his dismissals. "Anything else for tonight, sir?" "No, Sarah. Go home. It's late." She left quietly, and Ethan poured another splash of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the light. He returned to the window, the storm's fury mirroring his restless thoughts. The streets below were nearly deserted, save for a few figures scurrying for cover. His eyes caught a movement across the street, where a hotel security guard was arguing with a woman huddled under a small awning. Even from this distance, Ethan could see the guard's sharp gestures, urging her to leave her makeshift shelter. She sat on a worn blanket, her belongings stuffed into a tattered backpack, her posture defiant despite the rain soaking her green jacket. "Not my problem," Ethan muttered, taking a sip. He'd donated to homeless charities before, good for the hotel's image, but personal involvement wasn't his style. Life was a game of winners and losers, and he'd always been on the winning side. Yet, something about the woman's stance held his attention. She stood, facing the guard, her head high as she spoke, her words sharp enough to make the man step back. Despite her soaked clothes and precarious situation, she radiated pride, a fire that refused to be extinguished by the storm or her circumstances. Ethan watched as she gathered her belongings: a blanket, a small book, a crumpled plastic bag, and stepped into the pouring rain. Her dark hair, braided tightly, glistened under the streetlights as she walked away, undeterred by the downpour. Before he could second-guess himself, he grabbed his phone and dialed his hotel manager, John. John, a woman across the street, just left the awning. Dark hair, green jacket. Bring her to the hotel entrance. Tell her Mr. Caldwell wants to speak with her. 10 minutes later, John called back. "Sir, we found her, but she's refusing to come inside. Says she's not interested in whatever you're selling." Ethan frowned, unaccustomed to defiance. I'm coming down. In the Grand Horizon's marble lobby, Ethan spotted her immediately. She stood near the entrance, dripping water onto the polished floor, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Up close, she was younger than he'd expected. Perhaps in her late 20s, with striking features, deep brown eyes that held both strength and wariness, and skin that glowed despite the rain's chill. Her green jacket was soaked, and her clothes, though worn, were clean, a testament to her effort to maintain dignity. The security staff hovered nearby, unsure how to handle this unusual visitor. I'm Ethan Caldwell, he said, approaching her, his voice calm but authoritative, the hotel's owner. She met his gaze without flinching. Maya Jackson. And I didn't ask to be dragged in here. Her directness caught him off guard. People usually fawned over him, eager to impress the Caldwell heir. I saw the guard force you out, he explained. It's a brutal night to be outside. Maya raised an eyebrow, her voice laced with sarcasm. So, the rich guy in the penthouse felt sorry for the homeless black woman? How noble. A few guests turned to stare, their whispers barely concealed. Ethan wasn't used to being challenged, especially not in his hotel. He lowered his voice, keeping his tone even. Look, I'm offering you a chance to get warm and dry. Use the shower in my suite, get clean clothes, have a hot meal, no strings attached. Maya studied him, her eyes narrowing. Why would you do that for a stranger? It was a fair question, one Ethan wasn't sure he could answer. Was it pity, curiosity, or something about her defiance that stirred the restlessness he'd been feeling? Call it a rare moment of generosity, he said. Take it or leave it. After a long pause, Maya nodded, her expression still guarded. Fine, shower and a meal. That's it. I'm not looking for handouts. Understood, Ethan replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips. This way. They rode the private elevator silently, Maya standing in the corner, clutching her backpack to avoid dripping on the plush carpet. When they entered the penthouse, she froze in the doorway, her eyes sweeping over the luxurious space. Crystal chandeliers, velvet furniture, a view of the city skyline that sparkled even through the rain. Ethan pointed to a door. Bathroom's there. You'll find everything you need. I'll have clothes brought up from the boutique. Thank you, Maya said stiffly, her discomfort palpable. She disappeared into the bathroom, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts. He called room service for a meal and asked Sarah to arrange women's clothing, telling himself this was a good deed. She'd be gone tomorrow, and his life would resume its predictable rhythm. But as he stood by the window, watching the storm rage on, he couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had begun, a spark that would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself and the world he'd taken for granted. The penthouse suite of the Grand Horizon Hotel enveloped Maya Jackson in a cocoon of warmth, a stark contrast to the storm raging outside. The bathroom's marble tiles gleamed under soft lighting, and the shower's hot water cascaded over her, washing away the chill of the rain-soaked streets. Maya stood under the spray, her braided hair heavy with water, grappling with her night's surreal turn. She wasn't naive. She knew men like Ethan Caldwell, wealthy, polished, used to getting their way, didn't offer kindness without motives. Yet his offer of a shower and meal felt oddly genuine, his demeanor more curious than predatory. Still, she kept her guard up, clutching her tattered backpack as she emerged, now wrapped in a plush white robe, its softness alien against her skin. Ethan stood by the dining table, where room service had laid out a spread of roasted chicken, steamed vegetables, and warm bread, the aromas tugging at Maya's hunger. She hadn't eaten a proper meal in days, surviving on granola bars and shelter soup. He gestured to a chair, his expression unreadable. Please, eat while it's hot." Maya hesitated and then sat, her movements deliberate, as if maintaining dignity could shield her from vulnerability. She took small bites, resisting the urge to devour the food, aware of Ethan's gaze across the table. He poured her a glass of water, his tailored suit slightly rumpled, a sign of the late hour. "So," he began, his voice breaking the awkward silence, "how did you end up out there?" Her fork paused mid-air. "That's a bold question from a stranger." "Fair point," Ethan conceded, a faint smile softening his features. "I'll go first. I'm Ethan Caldwell, and I've never been married. I took over this hotel chain from my father 5 years ago. I work too much, and my friends say I'm a bit intense." Maya's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Intense. That tracks." He chuckled, unoffended. "Your turn." She sighed, setting down her fork. "I was a nursing student until last year. My mom got sick with cancer. I dropped out to care for her and used up my savings on her treatments. After she passed, I couldn't keep up with the rent. Been on the streets for 3 months. Her tone was matter-of-fact, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of pain. Life doesn't always give you a safety net. Ethan leaned back, processing her words. He'd never known struggle, never lacked a safety net. His world was one of private clubs, boardroom deals, and vacations in Aspen, a far cry from the reality Maya described. Yet her resilience stirred something in him, recognizing the emptiness he'd felt earlier that evening. "I'm sorry about your mom," he said quietly. "That must have been hard." Maya nodded, her gaze distant. "She was everything. Raised me alone in Harlem, worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses, waitressing. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Church on Sundays, block parties in summer, neighbors who looked out for you. That's what I miss most." Her words painted a vivid picture of a community Ethan had never known, one built on connection rather than competition. His childhood had been solitary, marked by nannies and boarding schools, and his father was too busy building an empire to notice him. "Sounds like a real home," he said, surprised by the wistfulness in his voice. "I don't think I've ever had that." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You? With all this?" She gestured to the opulent suite, its chandeliers casting prisms on the walls. Ethan replied that wealth isn't the same as home, and his honesty caught them both off guard. "It's just stuff. People around me care about status, not substance. I'm starting to see how empty that is." She studied him, her wariness softening but not vanishing. "So why help me? Guilt? Boredom?" He hesitated, searching for an answer. "I don't know. You didn't look defeated when I saw you standing up to that guard. You looked alive. I haven't felt that way in a long time." Maya's expression flickered. Surprise, maybe respect. "Careful, Caldwell. That sounds dangerously close to human." They talked for hours, the storm outside fading to a distant hum. Maya spoke of her childhood in Harlem, summer evenings playing double dutch, and her mother's laughter at community fish fries. Ethan shared rare glimpses of his life, sailing with his grandfather on a lake upstate, a hobby he'd abandoned for work, the pressure of living up to his father's legacy. Their worlds couldn't have been more different, yet the conversation flowed effortlessly, each challenging the other's assumptions. Maya's sharp wit matched Ethan's intensity, and for the first time in years, he felt seen, not as a billionaire, but as a man. As midnight approached, Maya yawned, her exhaustion evident. Ethan glanced at the clock, reluctant to end the night. "You must be tired. The guest bedroom's yours if you want it." She shook her head, standing. "You've done enough. I can't stay. It's still pouring out there. Where will you go?" She didn't answer, her silence confirming she had nowhere to go. "Just tonight," Ethan pressed. "Tomorrow, we can figure something else out." Maya hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Okay, just tonight." The next morning, Ethan woke early, a strange anticipation stirring in his chest. He hadn't felt this alive in years, as if Maya's presence had cracked open something he'd long buried. But when he entered the kitchen, he found only a note on the counter, written in neat handwriting. "Thank you for your kindness." The meal and shower were more than enough. Maya. She was gone. Ethan's heart sank, an unexpected pang of loss hitting him. He tucked the note into his pocket, its words lingering like a challenge. At his office later that day, he couldn't focus. Images of Maya flashing through his mind, her defiant stance in the rain, her guarded smile over dinner, the fire in her eyes when she spoke of her mother. Sarah's voice broke his reverie. "Mr. Caldwell, Ms. Montgomery is on line 1. Tell her I'm busy," he said automatically, his thoughts elsewhere. He turned to Sarah, who'd worked for him for years, her loyalty a quiet constant. "Sarah, I need you to find someone. Maya Jackson, a former nursing student, is recently homeless. Her mother passed last year." Sarah raised an eyebrow, sensing something personal. "Why?" "She left something behind," Ethan lied, though Sarah's knowing look suggested she saw through it. "Just find her." As Sarah left, Ethan stared out his office window, the city sprawling below. He didn't know why Maya's departure felt like a loss, but he knew one thing. He wasn't ready to let her go. Her authenticity had pierced his carefully curated world, and he needed to know if that spark could grow into something more. Ethan Caldwell sat in his office at the Grand Horizon Hotel, the city's skyline sprawling beyond his window, but his mind was elsewhere. Maya Jackson's note, tucked in his pocket, felt like a weight, a reminder of the fleeting connection that had stirred something dormant in him. Her defiance, honesty, and how she'd spoken of her Harlem roots with unyielding pride had cracked the veneer of his polished life. For days, he went through the motions: board meetings, investor calls, a tense lunch with Claire Montgomery, whose chatter about socialites and galas only deepened his restlessness. He craved the authenticity he'd glimpsed in Maya, a stark contrast to the superficial world he'd grown weary of navigating. "Any updates, Sarah?" Ethan asked his assistant, his voice betraying an urgency she hadn't heard before. Sarah, her clipboard in hand, hesitated. "I found her, sir. Maya Jackson's been staying at the Hope Haven Women's Shelter downtown for the past 2 nights. Ethan's heart quickened. "Anything else?" "She's applied for jobs, mainly in hospital administration. No family listed, but a friend, Lena Brooks, visits her at the shelter. That's all I've got so far." "Thank you, Sarah." Ethan paused, then added, "Clear my afternoon. And get me the number for Dr. Harris at St. Luke's Hospital." Sarah's brow furrowed, but she nodded, sensing this was more than a passing whim. Ethan's privilege had always been his tool for solving problems. And now, acting on instinct, he called Dr. Harris, a contact from past charity donations. "Mark, it's Ethan Caldwell. I know someone perfect for an admin role at St. Luke's. Maya Jackson. She's a former nursing student, dedicated, sharp. Can you make it happen?" Grateful for Ethan's past generosity, Dr. Harris agreed to fast-track her application. Ethan hung up, convincing himself he was helping someone deserving, not overstepping. Yet a nagging doubt lingered. Would Maya see it the same way? Meanwhile, Maya sat on a park bench near the shelter, her backpack at her feet, sharing a coffee with Lena Brooks, her childhood friend from Harlem. Lena, A social worker with a warm smile and no-nonsense attitude had been her anchor since her mother's death. "You sure about going back to that shelter, Maya?" Lena asked, her voice laced with concern. "You could crash with me until you're on your feet." Maya shook her head, sipping the lukewarm coffee. "I appreciate it, Lena, but I need to do this alone. I've got interviews lined up. I'm not giving up." Lena leaned back, studying her. "You're stubborn as ever. Reminds me of those summer block parties when you'd outlast everyone at Double Dutch." Maya laughed. The memory of Harlem's vibrant streets, music blaring, neighbors dancing, kids chasing fireflies, easing her tension. "Mom always said I got my fight from her." "You did. And you'll get through this." "But that hotel guy, Ethan, what's his deal? You mentioned him twice." Maya's smile faded. "He was kind. Gave me a meal, a shower. But he's from another world, Lena. Penthouse suites, private elevators. I don't trust it." Lena raised an eyebrow. "Kindness doesn't always have strings. Just don't shut out the good stuff out of pride." Maya nodded, but her thoughts drifted to Ethan's intense gaze as he'd listened without judgment. She pushed the memory aside, focusing on her job search, determined to rebuild her life on her terms. 2 days later, Maya walked into St. Luke's Hospital for an interview, her best dress, a thrift store find, ironed meticulously. To her shock, the interviewer offered her an administrative assistant position with housing assistance and a generous salary. "We had a strong recommendation," the interviewer said vaguely. Maya's excitement was tempered by suspicion. It felt too easy, too perfect. As she left, clutching the offer letter, she spotted Ethan's sleek black Mercedes parked across the street. Her stomach tightened. He stepped out, his casual blazer contrasting with the hospital's bustle, and approached with a tentative smile. "Congratulations," he said. "I heard you got the job." Maya's eyes narrowed. "You heard? Or did you make it happen?" Ethan's smile faltered. "I put in a good word." "You're qualified, Maya. I just—" "You just what?" She interrupted, her voice sharp. "Could you fix my life with a phone call?" "I didn't ask for your charity, Ethan." The hospital parking lot buzzed with staff and patients, some glancing curiously at the heated exchange. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, frustration creeping in. "I wasn't trying to buy you. I saw someone incredible, someone who deserves a break. Is that so wrong?" "Yes," Maya snapped, stepping closer. "Because it's not your place to decide what I need. I've been fighting for everything my whole life. School, my mom's care, and surviving the streets. I don't need a rich guy pulling strings behind my back." Ethan's jaw tightened, but her words hit home. His life had always been about control, using wealth to shape outcomes. He'd acted impulsively, wanting to help, but hadn't considered how it might undermine her pride. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice low. "I didn't think it through. I just couldn't stop thinking about you." Maya's anger softened, but her guard stayed up. "Why? What's this about, Ethan? Pity? Curiosity?" "No," he said firmly. "You're real. You don't care about my name or my money. You made me question everything I've taken for granted. I don't know what this is, but I want to find out." She studied him, her heart warring with her head. His sincerity was disarming, but trust was hard-won. "I appreciate what you did that night," she said finally, "but I need to stand on my own. If you can't respect that, this, whatever this is, ends here." Ethan nodded, a mix of regret and resolve in his eyes. "I hear you. No more strings. Can we talk again? Just talk?" Maya hesitated, then gave a slight nod. "Maybe. I've got a job now, thanks to you. Sort of. Let's see where that takes me." As she walked away, Ethan watched her go, her determined stride echoing the defiance he'd seen in the rain. He'd messed up, but her fire only deepened his fascination. For the first time, he saw his privilege not as a tool, but as a barrier, one he'd need to dismantle to reach her. Back in his car, he pulled out her note, its words a quiet challenge. He wasn't giving up, not because he wanted to save her, but because she was waking him up to a life he'd forgotten he could want. Maya Jackson stood in her tiny apartment on Pine Street, the faint hum of the city filtering through the single window. The space was modest, a second-hand sofa, a small bookshelf crammed with nursing textbooks, a potted plant from Lena adding a touch of green. But it was hers, earned through her new job at St. Luke's Hospital. The walls, painted a faded beige, bore the scuffs of past tenants. Yet Maya felt a quiet pride in this hard-won sanctuary. Tonight, though, her thoughts were restless, stirred by Ethan Caldwell's recent apology and his persistent presence in her mind. She'd invited him over for coffee, a cautious step toward connection, but the weight of her past loomed like a shadow she couldn't outrun. Before Ethan arrived, Maya met Lena Brooks at a Harlem diner, its neon sign buzzing outside. The familiar scent of fried plantains and coffee grounded her as they slid into a worn booth. Lena, her childhood friend and now a social worker, sipped her tea, her eyes sharp with concern. "You're quiet tonight, Maya. What's going on?" Maya traced the rim of her mug, her voice low. "I'm seeing Ethan tonight. Just coffee. But I'm scared, Lena. He doesn't know everything about me." Lena leaned forward. "You mean your mom's treatments? How did you pay for them?" Maya nodded, her throat tightening. "After Mom got sick, I couldn't keep up. Nursing school, bills, her chemo. It was too much. I started dancing at a club downtown. Not just dancing, Lena. Stripping. And then there was this guy, Robert Ellis. Wealthy, older. He offered to cover Mom's medical bills if I'd be his companion. For 6 months, I was his mistress." The words spilled out, heavy with shame. Maya stared at the table, bracing for judgment, but Lena reached across, squeezing her hand. "You did what you had to for your mom. That's love, Maya, not something to be ashamed of. I don't know how hard it was. Growing up in Harlem, we've all made tough choices. Remember Ms. Carter from church? She sold her wedding ring to pay for her son's surgery. You're not alone." Maya's eyes stung, memories of Harlem's tight-knit community flooding back. Neighbors sharing meals, church ladies organizing fundraisers for needy families. "I thought I'd put it behind me," she admitted. "But with Ethan, it feels like it's all coming back. What if he can't handle it?" Lena's voice softened. "If he's worth your time, he'll see you for you, not your past. You're still the girl who led the choir at Mount Zion, who helped me study for biology. Tell him. Let him decide." Maya managed a small smile, Lena's words easing the knot in her chest. "You always know what to say." "That's why I'm here," Lena teased, but her eyes were serious. "You don't have to carry this alone." Back at her apartment, Maya tidied nervously, the scent of brewing coffee filling the air. When Ethan knocked, she opened the door to find him in a simple sweater and jeans, a far cry from his usual tailored suits. His presence, warm yet intense, made her heart race. "Nice place," he said, glancing around. "Feels like you." "It's small, but it's mine," Maya replied, gesturing to the sofa. She poured 2 mugs of coffee, her hands steady despite the storm inside her. As they sat, a careful distance between them, Ethan's gaze lingered on a framed photo on the side table. Maya and her mother, laughing at a Harlem block party, their smiles mirroring each other. "Your mom?" Ethan asked. "Yeah," Maya said, her voice softening. That was before she got sick. She was the heart of our neighborhood, always cooking for everyone, organizing community suppers. You look like her, Ethan said, his tone gentle. She sounds incredible. She was. Maya set her mug down, her resolve hardening. Lena's words echoed in her mind, urging her forward. Ethan, I need to tell you something about how I got through her illness. He leaned forward, his expression open. I'm listening. Maya took a deep breath, her hands clenching. When Mom's cancer got bad, I was desperate. Medical bills piled up, and I couldn't work full-time while caring for her. I started working at a club, stripping, for 8 months. And then, a regular there, Robert Ellis, offered to pay for her treatments if I'd be with him, exclusively. I was his mistress for 6 months until she passed. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya's heart pounded, her eyes fixed on the floor, expecting rejection. Ethan's face remained unreadable, and she braced herself for the worst. Say something, she whispered. Did you care for him? Ethan asked, his voice steady. No, Maya said firmly. It was a deal. He knew that. When Mom died, I ended it. He paid for her care and gave her extra months. I'm not proud of it, but I'd do it again for her. Ethan reached for her hands, his touch warm. Maya, look at me. She raised her eyes, finding only compassion in his. You did what you had to for someone you loved. That's strength, not shame. I can't imagine the courage it took. Tears welled up, spilling over before she could stop them. I was afraid you'd see me differently. I do, Ethan said, his voice soft but firm. I see you as even stronger than I thought. My life's been easy. Money, connections, safety nets. I've never had to make choices like that. I respect you more for it, not less. A sob escaped Maya, and Ethan pulled her into his arms. She cried against his chest, years of guilt and fear pouring out. His unconditional acceptance felt like a balm to wounds she'd carried alone. As she pulled back, wiping her eyes, she saw something new in his gaze. Admiration, yes, but a vulnerability mirrored her own. Thank you, she said, her voice shaky for not judging me. There's nothing to judge, Ethan replied. You're not your past, Maya. You're you. They sat silently, the coffee forgotten, the air thick with unspoken possibility. Maya felt lighter, as if sharing her truth had lifted a weight. Ethan's hand lingered on hers, and for the first time, she imagined a future where she didn't have to hide. But doubt lingered. Could someone from his world truly understand hers? As Ethan left, promising to call, Maya stood at her window, the city lights blurring through her tears. She was falling for him, which scared her more than any secret she'd shared. The late autumn sun cast long shadows across the parking lot of St. Luke's Hospital, where Maya Jackson stood directing families to free health screenings at the annual community health fair. Her navy scrubs were crisp, her braided hair pulled back, and her smile warm as she guided an elderly couple to the blood pressure station. The event buzzed with life, children laughing, volunteers chatting, the scent of coffee mingling with the crisp air. Maya felt at home here, helping people from neighborhoods like the Harlem she'd grown up in, where access to care was often a luxury. Her new job as an administrative assistant had given her purpose, a step toward reclaiming the life she'd lost after her mother's illness. Yet, thoughts of Ethan Caldwell lingered. His compassion after her painful revelation 2 weeks ago, both comforting and unsettling. Ethan, meanwhile, had surprised her by volunteering at the fair. Dressed in jeans and a volunteer t-shirt, He looked out of place among the hospital staff. Yet he worked diligently, registering patients and cracking jokes to ease their nerves. Maya caught glimpses of him, his easy charm disarming a nervous mother, his focus intense as he filled out forms. Their eyes met silently across the lot, acknowledging their fragile connection. Since that night in her apartment, they'd spoken a few times, brief calls, a shared coffee. But Maya kept her guard up, wary of his world and its complications. As the fair wound down, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Lena Brooks, her childhood friend. Check social media. Trouble. Frowning, Maya opened her app to find a post by Claire Montgomery, Ethan's ex-girlfriend. The photo showed Ethan and Maya at the fair, his gaze soft as he looked at her. It was captioned, "Billionaire Ethan Caldwell slumming it with a hospital worker. Secret romance or charity case. Trouble in paradise for NY's elite." The post had thousands of shares. Comments speculating about Maya's motives, some laced with veiled prejudice about her background. Her stomach churned. She'd feared this. Her life exposed, twisted into a tabloid narrative. Ethan, noticing her tension, approached. "What's wrong?" She showed him the phone, her voice tight. "Your ex decided to make us headline news." Ethan's jaw clenched as he read the post. "Claire. Damn it. I'm sorry, Maya." "Sorry doesn't fix this," she said, her eyes flashing. "They're calling me a gold digger. Or worse, your charity case. My co-workers will see this, my patients." Ethan reached for her, but she stepped back. "I'll handle Claire," he said, his voice firm. "I'll get my publicist to shut this down." "No," Maya said sharply. "You pulling strings is what got us here." "I'm not hiding, Ethan. I've got nothing to be ashamed of." He nodded, admiration in his eyes. "Then we face it together. No strings, just us." Maya hesitated, then nodded, her resolve hardening. Together. Monday morning at St. Luke's was a gauntlet. Photographers lingered outside the staff entrance, snapping as Maya hurried inside, head high. Inside, whispers followed her, curious stares from colleagues, a snide remark from Nurse Thompson. "Guess you're moving up in the world, huh?" Maya ignored her, focusing on her work, but the attention grated. At lunch, she retreated to the break room, only to find Dr. Harris, her mentor, waiting. A seasoned oncologist with a kind but no-nonsense demeanor. He'd taken Maya under his wing, recognizing her dedication. "Zara, about the media nonsense," Dr. Harris began, using her first name to put her at ease. "I got calls from reporters today. They're digging into your past." Maya's heart sank. "I'm sorry, Dr. Harris. I didn't mean to bring this here." He waved a hand. "You've done nothing wrong. Your work is exemplary. Patients trust you. Staff respect you. That's what matters. But be prepared. Not everyone will be kind." She nodded, grateful for his support. "Thank you. I'll keep my focus on the job." "Good," he said, a rare smile breaking through. "You remind me of my sister. Tough as nails. Grew up in Bed-Stuy. You'll get through this." Later, Maya met Lena for coffee at their usual diner, the familiar clatter of plates soothing her frayed nerves. "It's a mess, Lena," she admitted, showing her friend the tabloid headlines. "They're making me out to be some schemer using Ethan." Lena snorted. "Let them talk. You're Maya Jackson, who kept her mom alive through sheer will. You don't need his money or his name." Maya smiled faintly, drawing strength from Lena's fierce loyalty, rooted in their shared Harlem upbringing. Block parties, church suppers, neighbors who rallied in hard times. "Ethan wants to fix it, but I told him no. I need to stand my ground." "Smart," Lena said, "but don't push him away to prove a point. He'll stand with you, not over you, if he's real." That evening, Ethan arrived at Maya's apartment, his face etched with worry. His assistant Sarah warned him that the story was spreading, with blogs speculating about Maya's mysterious past. Maya sat across from him over tea in her small kitchen, her expression guarded but softer than before. Today was rough, she admitted. People staring, whispering. But Dr. Harris had my back, said I remind him of his sister. Ethan smiled. Sounds like a good guy. I'm glad you've got him. And Lena, Maya added. She's been my rock since we were kids, keeps me grounded. Ethan nodded, envying the community she described, which differed from his isolated, wealthy world. I talked to Claire, he said. Told her to back off. My publicist is ready to push back if it escalates. But I meant what I said, Maya. We face this together. She studied him, her heart tugging at his sincerity. Okay, she said finally. But no more fixing things behind my back. We're equals in this, Ethan, he agreed, reaching for her hand. To his relief, she didn't pull away. As they sat, hands entwined, the city's noise faded. The media storm loomed, but Maya felt a spark of hope. She wasn't alone with Ethan, Lena, and Dr. Harris in her corner. For the first time, she dared to believe they could weather this together, not as a billionaire and a hospital worker, but as two people finding something real amidst the chaos. The Lakeside Inn, an hour outside New York City, glowed warmly in the November dusk, its stone facade softened by ivy, and a crackling fireplace in the lobby. Maya Jackson stepped into the intimate space, her burgundy dress, a recent splurge to celebrate her hospital scholarship, hugging her curves modestly. She'd been hesitant when Ethan Caldwell suggested a weekend getaway to mark her achievement, wary of his world's extravagance. But the inn's understated charm put her at ease. It wasn't the ostentatious luxury of his Grand Horizon Hotel. It felt personal, like the community centers back in Harlem, where neighbors gathered for suppers. In a tailored suit, Ethan smiled as he checked them in, his hand brushing hers, a quiet promise of the night ahead. Their corner suite overlooked the inn's gardens, where fairy lights twinkled against bare branches. A bottle of champagne chilled on a side table, paired with a bouquet of lilies, Maya's favorite. She said you didn't have to do all this, her voice soft but teasing. I wanted to, Ethan replied, his eyes warm. You've earned this, Maya. The scholarship, the job. You're building something incredible. She smiled, her guard softening. Since the media storm sparked by Claire Montgomery's post, they'd faced scrutiny together, bolstered by Lena's fierce support and Dr. Harris's mentorship at St. Luke's. Tonight felt like a reprieve, a chance to celebrate her scholarship and their growing connection. They spent the afternoon strolling the grounds, the crisp air flushing Maya's cheeks. She shared stories of Harlem's autumn festivals, kids carving pumpkins, church choirs singing under streetlights, while Ethan listened, his usual intensity softened by curiosity. He spoke of his grandfather's lake upstate, where he'd learned to sail, a memory untainted by his father's expectations. As they walked, their hands brushed, then intertwined, the simple act electric. Dinner was in the inn's candlelit restaurant, their corner table offering a view of the illuminated gardens. Maya savored the roasted salmon, her laughter easy, as Ethan recounted a failed attempt at cooking for a board meeting. You're hopeless in a kitchen? She teased, sipping her wine. Guilty, he grinned. But I'm learning for you. Her heart fluttered, but before she could respond, a man approached their table, his expensive suit and smooth voice cutting through the moment. Maya, what a surprise. She froze, the color draining from her face. Robert Ellis, the man who'd paid her mother's medical bills in exchange for her companionship years ago. His presence was a jolt, dragging her back to a time she'd fought to leave behind. Robert, she said, her voice tight. It's been a while. Ethan stood, extending a hand, his jaw tight. Ethan Caldwell. Robert shook it, a faint smile playing on his lips. Robert Ellis. Maya and I are old acquaintances. The word carried a weight that made Ethan's eyes narrow. Congratulations on your scholarship, Maya, Robert continued, his tone polite but probing. Your mother would be proud. Thank you, Maya replied, her fingers gripping her napkin. We're just here for the night. I won't intrude, Robert said, nodding to Ethan. Enjoy your evening. As he walked away, the air felt heavy. Maya stared at her plate. Her earlier joy dimmed. Ethan sat, studying her. You okay? She nodded, forcing a smile. Just bad memories. Let's not let it ruin tonight. But the mood had shifted. They finished dinner quietly. Maya's thoughts tangled in the past. Her desperation, the club, Robert's sterile apartment. Back in their suite, she sat on the bed's edge, lost in thought. Ethan knelt before her, his voice gentle. Talk to me, Maya. What's going on? She sighed, her eyes distant. Seeing Robert, it brought it all back. The shame, the choices I made. He wasn't cruel, you know. He visited Mom in the hospital and got her flowers. But it was never about care. It was a transaction. Ethan took her hand. I get it. But was there more? Did you feel something for him? Her eyes flashed with surprise, then hurt. No, Ethan. I told you everything. It was about survival, not feelings. Why would you ask that? He hesitated, guilt flickering. He seemed to know you well. I just wondered. Maya pulled her hand away, standing. You wondered if I lied? After I bared my soul to you? No, Ethan said quickly, rising. I trust you. It just caught me off guard. She crossed her arms, her voice softening but firm. Please believe me, Ethan. Completely. Or this won't work. The next morning, Ethan's phone buzzed during breakfast. It was Sarah, his assistant, her voice urgent. Sir, I found something. Claire Montgomery had lunch with Robert Ellis last week at the Gramercy Hotel. I think she set this up. Ethan's grip tightened on the phone, anger flaring. Claire's manipulation was no surprise, but using Maya's past against her was a new low. Thanks, Sarah. Set a meeting with Claire, tomorrow, 9:00 a.m., my office. He returned to the table, his face tense. Maya noticed immediately. What's wrong? He took a deep breath, hating yesterday's lie about a work issue. Honesty was what she valued most. It's about Robert. It wasn't a coincidence. Claire arranged for him to be here to stir up trouble. Maya's eyes widened, then narrowed. She what? Sarah found out. Claire met him last week. I'm confronting her tomorrow, but I needed to tell you first. Maya stood, pacing. You knew and didn't tell me last night? I didn't know for sure, Ethan admitted. I wanted to protect you, not upset you, but I was wrong. I should have been upfront. She stopped, her shoulders sagging. I asked for honesty, Ethan. Always. I know, he said, stepping closer. I'm sorry. No more secrets. We handle this together. Maya met his gaze, her anger softening. Okay, but this is bigger than Claire. My past is out there now. People will judge. Let them, Ethan said, taking her hands. I see you, Maya. The real you. And I'm not going anywhere. She nodded, a small smile breaking through. Together then. The drive back to the city was quiet as they checked out, but their clasped hands spoke volumes. Claire's scheme had shaken them, but Ethan's honesty had rebuilt a fragile trust. Maya leaned against the window, thinking of Lena's words. If he's real, he'll stand with you. For the first time, she believed he might. The late November air carried a chill as Maya Jackson and Ethan Caldwell stood outside a dilapidated inn on the shores of a serene lake, its weathered clapboards sagging under years of neglect. The Lakeside Inn, an hour north of New York City, was Ethan's dream, a boutique hotel that prioritized warmth over luxury, inspired by Maya's stories of Harlem's community gatherings. Maya surveyed the property in a practical wool coat, her eyes sharp with skepticism and curiosity. The inn's potential was clear: acres of wooded land, a stunning lake view, but its crumbling roof and outdated plumbing screamed challenges. Ethan, in a casual jacket, his usual polish softened, grinned beside her, undeterred by the work ahead. Ethan said this could be something special, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. A place where people feel at home, not just served. Maya nodded, her braided hair catching the sunlight. It's got good bones, but it's a mess. Renovations won't be cheap. I've got the capital, Ethan replied, then caught himself. But I want this to be ours, Maya. Equal partners. Your vision for a wellness program, drawing on your nursing, your community roots, could make this unique. She hesitated, her independence warring with the allure of a shared dream. I love the idea, Ethan, but I can't match your money. I don't want to be a passenger in this. You're not, he insisted. Your ideas, your heart, that's worth more than cash. We'll figure out the rest together. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Sarah, Ethan's assistant. Sir, the contractor's report is attached. Leaky pipes, faulty wiring, and the county's dragging its feet on permits. It's going to cost more than we thought. Ethan's jaw tightened. How much more? 30% over budget at least. And investors are nervous. Some think a boutique hotel's too risky compared to your luxury chain. Thanks, Sarah. Keep me posted. He hung up, turning to Maya. We've got hurdles, but I'm not backing down. Maya's lips curved slightly. Good. Neither am I. Back in the city, Maya met Lena Brooks at their favorite Harlem diner, where the clatter of dishes was a comforting backdrop. Lena, her social worker friend, leaned across the table, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. So, are you and Ethan buying an inn? That's big, Maya. Big and terrifying, Maya admitted, sipping her coffee. It's his money, but he wants me as an equal partner. I'm thinking of a wellness program, yoga, nutrition classes, maybe herbal remedies like Mom used to make for the neighbors, stuff rooted in our community. Lena nodded, impressed. That's you, bringing Harlem to the countryside. But can you handle his world, investors, permits, all that? I'm learning, Maya said, her voice firm. I've faced worse than bureaucracy. Lena grinned. That's the Maya I know, the one who organized church fundraisers when we were teens. You've got this. Ethan met with his father, Thomas Caldwell, the next day at the Grand Horizon Hotel's boardroom. Thomas, a stern man with graying hair, had built the Caldwell empire on luxury and status, and his disapproval was palpable. A boutique inn? He said, his tone sharp. You're risking our reputation for a whim, Ethan. And with this woman, Maya. She's not from our circle. She's not a whim, Ethan shot back, his patience thin. She's brilliant, Dad. Her ideas could make the inn something new, something meaningful. I'm tired of chasing profit for profit's sake. Thomas's eyes narrowed, but he softened slightly. I don't want you throwing away everything we've built. I'm not, Ethan said. I'm building something better. The weeks that followed tested their resolve. Permit delays dragged on, with county officials citing zoning issues tied to the inn's rural location. A burst pipe flooded the kitchen, adding thousands to the budget. Two investors pulled out, spooked by the project's scale and Ethan's shift from the safe luxury market. Maya, balancing her hospital job, spent evenings researching wellness programs, drawing on Harlem traditions, herbal teas from her mother's recipes, community healing circles like those at Mount Zion Church. She pitched these to Ethan over late-night calls, her voice alive with passion. She suggested we offer free workshops for locals to build community trust. Ethan, poring over blueprints, nodded. That's perfect. It's what sets us apart. One evening, Maya invited Ethan to her apartment for a simple dinner. Jerk chicken and rice, a nod to her mother's cooking. As they ate, she shared her progress. I talked to Dr. Harris at work. He thinks the wellness program could partner with St. Luke's for health screenings. It's a way to give back. Ethan's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. You're making this honest, Maya. She smiled, but her expression turned serious. We're still fighting an uphill battle. The investors, your dad, they don't believe in this, or in me. They're wrong, Ethan said, reaching for her hand. You're the heart of this, and I'm learning to see my world through your eyes. Community, not just profit. Maya squeezed his hand, her doubts easing. We're a team then? Always, he said, his voice steady. As they cleared the dishes, Ethan's phone buzzed. Sarah again. Good news, sir. One investor's back on board. Mr. Larson liked Maya's wellness pitch, but the county's still stalling on permits. Ethan relayed the update, and Maya's face brightened. That's a start. We'll keep pushing. They stood side by side in her tiny kitchen, the city's hum outside a distant echo. The inn's challenges loomed, but their shared vision, blending Maya's community-rooted ideas with Ethan's resources, felt like a bridge between their worlds. The drama of external skepticism and practical hurdles only strengthened their partnership, proving they could face the storm together. The sun dipped low over the lake, casting a golden glow across the grounds of the Lakeside Inn. Maya Jackson stood on the grassy shore, her boots crunching against fallen leaves, her breath visible in the crisp December air. The inn's renovations were underway. Scaffolding clung to its weathered walls, and the hum of construction lingered, but its potential shone through, a testament to the vision she and Ethan Caldwell were building. Ethan stood beside her, his jacket unzipped despite the chill, his eyes bright with a nervous energy she hadn't seen before. They'd come upstate for a quiet evening, a break from the city's chaos and the ongoing battles with permits and skeptical investors. Maya said this place is starting to feel real, her voice soft as she gazed at the lake's shimmering surface. Memories of Harlem's community gatherings, neighbors sharing stories under string lights, flickered in her mind, inspiring her plans for the inn's wellness program. I can see people here feeling cared for, not just served. Ethan nodded, his hand finding hers. That's your touch, Maya. You're making this more than a hotel. She squeezed his hand, her heart warming. Since Claire's manipulative stunt with Robert Ellis, they'd grown closer, navigating media scrutiny and the inn's challenges as a team. Yet Maya's independence remained a quiet guardrail, a lesson from her Harlem roots, where self-reliance was a badge of honor. As twilight deepened, Ethan led her to a small dock, a blanket spread out with a thermos of hot cider and 2 mugs. A picnic? Maya teased, settling beside him. You're getting sentimental. Guilty, Ethan grinned, pouring the cider. But you deserve it. The scholarship, the inn. You're unstoppable, she laughed, sipping the warm drink, its spices reminding her of her mother's winter recipes. We're unstoppable. This is us. Together. Ethan's expression turned serious, his hand tightening around hers. Maya, I've been thinking about us, about what I want. Her heart skipped, sensing the weight in his words. "And what's that?" He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Maya's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple diamond ring, its elegance understated yet striking. "I love you, Maya," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I love your strength, your heart, and how you challenge me to improve. I want to build a life with you, not just the inn, but everything, as equals. Maya Jackson, will you marry me?" Maya froze, the ring glinting in the fading light. Her heart soared, but doubt crept in, a shadow from her past struggles. Marriage, especially to someone like Ethan, felt like stepping into a world where she might lose herself. She stood, pacing the dock, her boots echoing softly. "Ethan, I love you too," she said, her voice trembling. "But this, it's huge. I've fought so hard to stand on my own. What if this changes me? What if I become someone I don't recognize?" Ethan rose, his eyes steady but gentle. "I don't want to change you, Maya. I want you as you are, fierce, independent, brilliant. The inn, this ring, it's about partnership, not ownership." She shook her head, tears prickling. "Your world is so different. The money, the expectations. I'm just starting to rebuild my life. What if I can't keep up?" Needing clarity, Maya called Lena Brooks and met her at their Harlem diner the next morning. The familiar clatter of plates and scent of fried plantains grounded her as she poured out her fears. He proposed a ring, the inn, and a future to Lena. "But I'm scared I'll lose myself in his world." Lena leaned back, her eyes sharp. "You're Maya Jackson, the woman who held her mom's hand through chemo, who survived the streets. You don't lose yourself. You bring yourself. If Ethan's real, he'll meet you halfway. Like we did at those church suppers, everyone was pitching in." Maya smiled, memories of Harlem's communal strength, neighbors pooling resources, sharing burdens, easing her doubts. "You think I can do this?" "I know you can," Lena said. "Love doesn't erase you. It builds you up." Back at her apartment, Maya invited Ethan over, her decision made. He arrived, his face tense with worry, but she took his hands, her voice steady. "I was scared, Ethan. Afraid of losing what I've fought for, my independence, my identity. But Lena reminded me, I'm stronger than that. And you see me, not some version you want to fix." Ethan's shoulders relaxed, hope flickering in his eyes. "I do, Maya. I love who you are, not who I want you to be." She nodded, tears spilling over. "Then yes, I'll marry you. Let's build this life together, as equals." Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, its weight a promise, not a burden. He pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply, the city's hum fading as their worlds merged. Ethan met his father, Thomas, the next day at the Grand Horizon. Still skeptical of the inn and Maya, Thomas frowned over his coffee. "Marriage, Ethan? And this inn? You're throwing away stability for, what, a romantic whim?" "It's not a whim," Ethan said firmly. "Maya's my partner, Dad. She's teaching me what matters. Connection, not status. The inn's our vision, not mine." Thomas sighed, his stern facade softening. "I want you to be sure. Your mother, she'd have liked Maya's fire." Ethan smiled, the rare mention of his mother a bridge to his father's approval. As they left the meeting, Ethan's phone buzzed. Sarah, his assistant, sounded cautiously optimistic. "The county approved one permit, sir, but another investor pulled out. They're worried about the inn's unconventional approach." Ethan relayed the news to Maya that evening, her apartment cozy with the scent of her mother's cornbread recipe. She said one step forward, one back, but her eyes sparkled with determination. "We'll make it work." Together, Ethan agreed, pulling her close. The inn's challenges loomed, but their engagement felt like a foundation, stronger than any permit or budget. They were building a bridge between their worlds toward a future rooted in love and equality. The upscale restaurant, nestled in Manhattan's heart, glowed with crystal chandeliers and the clinking of wine glasses. Maya Jackson smoothed the skirt of her simple black dress, a thrift store find she'd worn to job interviews, its elegance understated yet striking. Her braided hair was swept into a neat updo, a nod to the Harlem church suppers where she'd learned to carry herself with pride. Tonight was her first official appearance in Ethan Caldwell's elite world, a business dinner with his investors, and her nerves thrummed beneath her calm exterior. Ethan stood beside her in a tailored charcoal suit, his hand resting lightly at the small of her back as they entered. His confidence was reassuring, but Maya knew the stakes. These were people who valued status over substance, and she was an outsider. "Are you sure about this?" Maya asked as they approached the private dining room, her voice low. "Your investors might not take kindly to me." Ethan's eyes met hers, steady and warm. "If they can't see your worth, they're not worth my time. You're my partner, Maya, in every way." She nodded, drawing strength from his words and her resolve, rooted in the community that raised her. Harlem neighbors who faced judgment with heads high, from block parties to church pews. "All right," she said, squaring her shoulders. "Let's do this." The dining room was a sea of polished faces, men in suits, women in designer gowns, their eyes flicking to Maya with veiled curiosity. Ethan introduced her with pride. "Gentlemen, ladies, this is Maya Jackson, my fiancé and partner in the Lakeside Inn project. Mr. Larson," a silver-haired investor with a sharp gaze, shook her hand firmly. His wife, Mrs. Larson, offered a tight smile, her diamond necklace glinting. "So, Maya," she said, her tone syrupy, "what do you do?" "I'm an administrative assistant in the oncology department at St. Luke's Hospital," Maya replied, her voice clear. "I was studying nursing before life got in the way. Now I'm back on track with a scholarship." "How admirable," Mrs. Larson said, her smile thinning. "Such necessary work. Not many choose it." The barb was subtle, but Maya caught it, her Harlem-bred resilience kicking in. "All work that helps people is necessary," she said pleasantly, "whether it's healing patients or building a business that welcomes them. Don't you agree?" Mrs. Larson blinked, caught off guard, and Mr. Larson chuckled. "Well said, Ms. Jackson." As dinner progressed, the conversation turned to the Lakeside Inn. Ethan outlined their vision, a boutique hotel with a wellness program inspired by Maya's community roots, like the healing circles her mother once led at Mount Zion Church. Maya added, "We're planning free health workshops for locals, nutrition, stress management, things my neighborhood taught me to value." Mr. Henderson, another investor, raised an eyebrow. "Ambitious, but risky. Luxury hotels are safer bets." "Luxury serves a few," Maya countered, her tone calm but firm. "Community serves everyone. That's what makes the inn different." Ethan's hand brushed hers under the table, a silent gesture of support. Mrs. Henderson, her lips pursed, murmured to her neighbor, bold for someone new to this circle. Maya held her gaze, unflinching. "I'm here because I believe in this project, and because Ethan believes in me." The dinner wasn't without tension. Subtle jabs continued. Mrs. Larson's pointed questions about Maya's background were a veiled comment about new faces in their social sphere. Ethan redirected when needed, his charm disarming the table, but Maya handled most herself, her poise honed by years of navigating judgment in Harlem's tight-knit streets. By dessert, Mr. Larson was nodding thoughtfully, impressed by her insights on community engagement, while even Mrs. Henderson softened, asking about the wellness program's details. Ethan reached for her hand as they drove back to Maya's apartment. "You were incredible tonight. Larson's halfway sold on the inn because of you." Maya smiled, tired but proud. "They weren't all thrilled to see me. Mrs. Larson practically measured my dress for flaws." Ethan said they're protecting their little world, his voice tinged with frustration. "You're a threat because you're real, not some polished trophy." "You held your own, Maya." She leaned against him, the city lights blurring past. It felt like a test, not just for them, but for us. "You passed with flying colors," he said, kissing her hand. "We're a team." At her apartment, Maya called Lena Brooks, her friend's voice a lifeline after the evening's intensity. "How'd it go?" Lena asked, the diner's familiar clatter in the background. "Like walking into a lion's den," Maya admitted. "But I didn't back down. Ethan had my back, and we won some of them over." Lena laughed. "That's my girl. You've been facing folks like that since we were kids, shutting down bullies at the block party. You're built for this." Maya smiled. Memories of Harlem's vibrant resilience. Neighbors standing up to slumlords, church ladies organizing against cuts to community programs. Grounding her. "Thanks, Lena. I needed that." The next morning, Sarah, Ethan's assistant, called with an update. "Mr. Larson is increasing his investment, sir." He liked Ms. Jackson's pitch, but the county's still stalling on the final permit. Something about environmental regulations. Ethan relayed the news to Maya over coffee at her place, the scent of her mother's cornbread recipe lingering. "One step forward," she said, her eyes determined. "We'll tackle the permit next." Together, Ethan agreed, his hand over hers. The dinner had been a gauntlet, but Maya's strength had turned skeptics into allies. Their worlds collided, and though challenges remained, their partnership felt unbreakable, a bridge built on mutual respect and love. Winter's chill settled over New York City, frosting the windows of Maya Jackson's Pine Street apartment. The cozy warmth of her small space enveloped her and Ethan Caldwell as they chopped vegetables for a stew, the scent of thyme and garlic mingling with laughter. Maya's nursing classes had begun, and her evenings were now split between hospital shifts and textbooks. Ethan was stepping back from the Grand Horizon Hotel chain to focus on their Lakeside Inn project. Their lives were weaving together, a delicate balance of her Harlem-rooted simplicity and his polished world. The media frenzy sparked by Claire Montgomery's post had faded, though occasional photographers still lurked outside St. Luke's, hoping for a scandalous shot. Fortified by her community's resilience, Maya brushed them off, focusing on building a future with Ethan. "Pass the carrots," Maya said, nudging Ethan's arm. He handed them over with a grin, his tie loosened, a rare sight of ease. Their evenings together, cooking, talking, planning the inn, had become a sanctuary. Tonight, they hosted a small dinner for Lena Brooks, Dr. Harris, and Ethan's father, Thomas, a tentative step toward blending their worlds. "You sure about this?" Ethan asked, stirring the pot. "My dad can be intense," Maya smirked, chopping an onion with precision. "I faced your investors. I can handle Thomas. Besides, Lena brings her sweet potato pie, but nobody argues." Ethan laughed, the sound warm. "You're right. She's like family already." The dinner was a modest affair, Maya's second-hand table crowded with mismatched plates, a nod to the communal suppers of her Harlem childhood. Lena arrived first, her social worker's practicality softened by a warm hug. Maya said, "This place looks like home," setting down her pie, its cinnamon aroma evoking memories of church bake sales. Dr. Harris, the oncologist who'd mentored Maya, followed, his presence steady and reassuring. "Smells like my mama's kitchen in Bed-Stuy," he said, winking. Thomas arrived last, his stern demeanor softened by a bottle of wine, a gesture of cautious goodwill. As they ate, conversation flowed, Lena teasing Maya about her teenage choir solos, Dr. Harris sharing hospital anecdotes, Ethan recounting a recent setback. A delayed plumbing permit had pushed renovations back a month, straining their budget. Thomas, sipping his wine, offered a rare nod. "Permits are a nightmare. But your wellness program idea, Maya, it's smart. Reminds me of the community clinics my wife supported." Maya smiled, surprised by his warmth. "Thank you, Thomas. My mom's way inspires it, bringing people together to heal, like our Harlem suppers." Ethan squeezed her hand under the table, pride in his eyes. The evening felt like a bridge, their worlds merging over shared stories and laughter. But the next morning, a tabloid headline disrupted their peace. "Caldwell's fiancé, from hardship to high society." The article rehashed Maya's past, hinting at her time as a stripper, though without proof. Maya, checking her phone at St. Luke's, felt her stomach twist. She called Lena at the diner, and her voice was a lifeline. "It's just noise, Maya," Lena said, like when folks gossiped about Mrs. Jones's eviction. "You rose above them. You'll do it now." Maya nodded, drawing on Harlem's lessons. Neighbors rallying against judgment. Church ladies shielding the vulnerable. "Thanks, Lena. I've got people in my corner." At the hospital, Dr. Harris pulled her aside during a break. "Saw the article," he said, his tone firm but kind. "Don't let it shake you. You're doing good work here, and patients trust you. That's what counts." Maya managed a smile. "Appreciate that, Dr. Harris. Just wish the world would move on." "They will," he said. "Focus on your classes, your future. You're tougher than their nonsense." That evening, Ethan arrived at Maya's apartment, his face etched with frustration. Sarah, his assistant, had called with news. Another investor was wavering, citing the tabloid's negative publicity. Over tea, Ethan shared the update, but his voice was tense. "I told them it's irrelevant. The inn's on track, and you're the heart of it." Maya sighed, setting her mug down. "It's not irrelevant to them, Ethan. They see me as a risk to your image." "They're wrong," he said, taking her hands. "You're my partner, not a liability. Sarah is digging into new investors who understand our vision." Maya's eyes softened. "Sarah's a gem. She's been in your corner from the start." Ethan nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "She's like you, real. She grew up in the working class and put herself through school. She gets why this matters." They spent the evening planning, Maya sketching wellness program ideas, yoga classes, herbal workshops rooted in her mother's recipes, while Ethan reviewed budgets. The setback stung, but their shared purpose felt stronger. Maya thought of her Harlem neighbors, pooling resources to fix a broken community center, and felt a surge of resolve. "We'll make it work," she said, leaning against Ethan. "Together," he replied, kissing her forehead. As they cleaned up, Ethan's phone buzzed. Sarah's voice was upbeat. "Good news, sir. A new investor is interested. I met them through Dr. Harris's network. They love the community angle." Ethan relayed the news, and Maya's face lit up. "See? We're building something real." The city hummed outside, but their world felt solid in Maya's small apartment. The tabloid's sting faded against the warmth of their dinner, the support of Lena, Dr. Harris, and even Thomas's tentative approval. Their new normal, blending love, work, and resilience, wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, a testament to their growing bond amidst life's challenges. The summer sun bathed the lakeside inn in a golden glow, and its newly renovated stone walls and blooming gardens are a testament to Ethan Caldwell and Maya Jackson's shared vision. The inn's grounds buzzed with quiet anticipation as guests gathered for their wedding, an intimate affair far from the lavish spectacles of Ethan's former world. Maya stood in a small room overlooking the lake, her simple white dress flowing softly, her braided hair adorned with wildflowers, a nod to the Harlem block parties, where her mother once wove daisies into her hair. Her heart raced with joy, tempered by the weight of the moment. This was more than a wedding. It was a declaration of their equal partnership, forged through challenges and love. Maya's childhood friend, Lena Brooks, adjusted a wildflower, and her smile was warm. "You look like a queen, Maya. Your mom would be beaming." Maya's eyes glistened, memories of her mother's laughter at community suppers flooding back. "I wish she were here, Lena. But having you, Dr. Harris, everyone, it feels like family." Lena hugged her. "That's Harlem in you, making family wherever you go. Ethan's lucky to have you." Maya laughed, steadying her nerves. "We're lucky to have each other." Outside, Ethan stood by the lake, his light suit jacket open, no tie, his usual polish softened by the day's intimacy. The inn's transformation, new wood floors, a cozy wellness room inspired by Maya's vision, mirrored their journey. Guests mingled on the lawn, a mix of Maya's hospital colleagues and Ethan's open-minded business associates. Ethan's father, Thomas Caldwell, stood nearby, his stern demeanor softened by pride. Their heart-to-heart months ago, where Ethan spoke of Maya's strength and their shared dream, had won him over. "She's remarkable, son," Thomas had said, a rare admission. Dr. Harris, Maya's mentor at St. Luke's, approached Ethan, his presence grounding. "Ready for this, Caldwell?" "More than ever," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "Maya's changed everything." Dr. Harris nodded, his eyes crinkling. "She's got that fire. It reminds me of my sister in Bed-Stuy, who always fights for what's right. You two are building something special." The ceremony began under a wooden arch draped with ivy. Dr. Harris walked Maya down the aisle, her steps confident, her smile radiant. Ethan's breath caught, his love for her overwhelming. They'd chosen a unity candle, a tradition from Maya's Harlem church, its flame symbolizing their merged lives. Their vows, written in their own words, promised equality, respect, and resilience. Maya's voice rang clear. "I promise to stand with you, Ethan, as your partner, to challenge you, to build a life where love outweighs all else." Ethan, his eyes locked on hers, vowed, "I promise to see you, Maya, always, to learn from you, to make our world one where we both belong." As they lit the candle, a murmur rippled through the guests. Ethan glanced up to see a tabloid reporter, tipped off by Claire Montgomery, snapping photos from the edge of the property. A new article had surfaced that morning, rehashing Maya's past with Robert Ellis, hinting at scandal. Claire's final attempt to sour their day stung, but Maya squeezed Ethan's hand, her gaze unwavering. "Let them write their stories," she whispered. "This is ours." Lena, spotting the reporter, marched over with Sarah, Ethan's assistant, whose working-class grit matched her loyalty. Lena firmly said, "You're on private property," her Harlem-bred authority cutting through. "Leave, or we'll call security." Sarah added, her voice calm but steely, "The Caldwells deserve their day. Move on." The reporter retreated, the article gaining little traction online, overshadowed by the wedding's joy. Guests rallied around, their laughter and applause drowning out the intrusion. Thomas raised a glass during the reception, his toast heartfelt. "To Ethan and Maya, who've shown me that love and purpose outweigh status. I'm proud to call you family." The reception unfolded with music and dancing, and Maya's hospital colleagues mixed with Ethan's friends under string lights. Lena led a toast, her voice carrying the warmth of their Harlem roots. To Maya, who's always been our strength, and Ethan, who's learned to be hers. As the sun set, Maya and Ethan slipped to the dock, the lake reflecting the fading light. "Happy?" Ethan asked, holding her close. "Beyond happy," Maya replied, her eyes shining. This is what Mom would have wanted. A life built on love, not appearances." Ethan kissed her, the world fading to just them. The tabloid sting was a distant echo. Their support network, Lena, Sarah, Dr. Harris, even Thomas, forming a shield. Their union, steeped in Maya's cultural traditions and shared vision, was a triumph, a promise of a future where love transcended all obstacles. The spring sun dipped low, painting the lake beside the lakeside inn with hues of pink and gold. Maya Jackson sat on the inn's wooden dock, her feet dangling over the edge, the gentle water lapping a soothing backdrop. Beside her, Ethan Caldwell leaned back, his casual shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his hand entwined with hers. 3 years had passed since their wedding, and the inn had blossomed into a haven of warmth and connection, its stone walls now polished, its gardens vibrant with wildflowers. Nearby, in a portable bassinet, their 6-month-old daughter Naomi slept peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling, named after Maya's mother, whose spirit lived on in their work. The Lakeside Inn and Wellness Retreat was more than a hotel. It was a testament to their shared vision. Now a nurse practitioner, Maya ran the wellness center, blending medical care with holistic practices rooted in her Harlem upbringing, herbal teas her mother once brewed, community healing circles like those at Mount Zion Church. Guests, from city dwellers to local families, flocked to her workshops, finding solace in yoga sessions and nutrition classes. Ethan managed the business side, his savvy tempered by a newfound passion for authenticity, even teaching sailing to guests on the lake, a nod to his grandfather's lessons. The inn's reputation for genuine hospitality had made it a success, despite early hurdles, leaky pipes, permit delays, skeptical investors, that they'd overcome together. "Hard to believe this all started with a rainy night," Maya said, her voice soft, her eyes on the horizon. Ethan squeezed her hand, his gaze warm. "That night changed everything. I saw you, standing tall in the storm, and something in me woke up." Maya smiled. Memories of Harlem's resilience, neighbors rebuilding after setbacks, church suppers knitting the community together, mirroring their journey. "We've come far, haven't we? From tabloids and Claire's schemes to this." Ethan chuckled. "Claire's long gone. Last I heard, she's chasing headlines in London. But you're my home, Maya." Their path hadn't been easy. The inn's first year brought challenges. A harsh winter delayed renovations, costing thousands. A local council questioned the wellness program's certifications, requiring Maya to navigate red tape. Ethan's old social circle, including a few lingering skeptics, drifted away, uncomfortable with his shift from luxury hotels. Yet their support network held firm. Maya's lifelong friend, Lena Brooks, visited often, and her social worker's insight shaped the inn's community outreach. Dr. Harris, Maya's mentor, partnered with the Wellness Center, offering health screenings that drew locals. Sarah, Ethan's assistant, had become a close ally, her working-class grit a bridge between their worlds. She now managed the inn's operations, her loyalty unwavering. Even Thomas, Ethan's father, had embraced their vision, hosting his retirement party at the inn last year, and his pride was evident. "Naomi's going to grow up here," Maya said, glancing at their daughter and running through these gardens, learning to sail like you did. It's more than I ever dreamed. Ethan kissed her forehead. She'll have your fire. And your mom's heart. Maya leaned against him, her thoughts drifting to her mother's lessons. Love as sacrifice, community as strength. Mom would have loved this place. She always said, real wealth is in the people you lift. A soft breeze carried laughter from the inn, where guests gathered for a community dinner, a tradition Maya insisted on, inspired by Harlem's block parties. A local family, regulars at the wellness center, waved from the porch, their gratitude a quiet reward. Ethan followed her gaze, his voice reflective. I used to think success was numbers, profit margins, stock prices. You showed me it's this: people, connection, something lasting. Maya turned to him, her eyes shining. We did this together. Equals. The moment was interrupted by Sarah's approach, her clipboard in hand, a smile breaking her usual efficiency. Sorry to intrude, but we got the grant for the free health clinic, thanks to Dr. Harris's proposal. And the council finally approved the wellness certifications. Maya's face lit up. That's huge, Sarah. We can expand the workshops now. Ethan grinned. You're a miracle worker, Sarah. She shrugged, her eyes twinkling. And just doing my part. This place, it's special. Like my old neighborhood, where everyone pitched in. As Sarah returned to the inn, Ethan and Maya sat in comfortable silence, Naomi stirring softly. The challenges, Claire's schemes, media scrutiny, renovation woes, felt distant now, and their love and partnership have a stronger foundation. The inn wasn't just a business. It was a legacy, a place where guests felt valued, where Harlem's communal spirit met Ethan's vision for authenticity. Maya traced patterns on Ethan's hand, her voice soft. Did you ever imagine this, that night in the rain? Not in my wildest dreams, Ethan said, his smile tender. But I'm grateful every day for you, for us. Maya nestled closer, the lake's reflection dancing in the twilight. Their journey, from a stormy encounter to this moment, was a testament to love that saw beyond appearances, a love built on respect, resilience, and a shared dream that would endure for generations.